We got this outdoor garden swing and assembled it today, and we love the way it looks, and it's very sturdy and put together pretty well. It had a few design flaws, and unfortunately there was one that affected it enough that we're going to need to contact the manufacturer to see if they can repair or replace it for us, and I'll show you that in a minute. But it's a beautiful swing. I'll show you the how to put it together and the things that happened when we did. So we got it all put together, and when we sat down on it for the first time, it broke in the middle. You can see there's a knot right here, and so our guess is hopefully that this was just a defect and that this would not happen on every swing they make. There is a knot right there, so that's suspect, and it's right in the center. And lastly, this feels strong, but it looks a little odd with these gaps in between here, and it was also a little tricky to manage this angle with the hardware, but we got it in and it is sturdy. I'll show you the assembly process and what it took to put it together. There are different lengths of bolts that come with this kit, and you'll need to label or know which size and length you're using as you're constructing it. So we used a Sharpie marker to write directly on at least one of them. This is 280 millimeters, so you're going to need a ruler that has millimeters on it. You measure to the inside edge of the head of the bolt. We're starting by assembling the frame that's going to suspend the swing, and we're laying it on the ground because that's way too much to manage in an upright position. We're lining it up. One 140 millimeter bolt goes through there. We want to take off one of the washers though, so it can go in on the other side once we put it through every hole. There's several to go through. You can see I've got the washer on this side still. And once we've got all of them on here, they don't have to be in tightly yet, but we need them to have the washer on the other side and that last bolt. Okay, we're using a 9/16 socket to tighten this, but not too tight, because we don't, in the end, want the legs to be laying flat on the ground of the frame. We are going to actually stand it up, so these will need swung down later, but this is going to keep it together for now. So we put the bolt on the other end with the other two legs as well, but notice how loose we left it because we're going to need to swing this whole thing up when we're done. Next is putting on the side brace. The kit comes with several shaped like this, and there's only a set of two that are as long as this. So the longest set is the set to put on the frame. And now we'll snug these bolts up completely for the side rails. What you need to know about these corner brackets is one of the holes is not drilled at a right angle. This one is drilled, can you see? This is at quite a different angle, and that is to accommodate two going into the center, and it will only work that way. This is also one of the longest bolts, so pay attention. This is the 160 millimeter, and this is the 110 millimeter. This is the hole that is drilled at an angle. So we're with the long bolt. This is the 110 bolt. You have to wiggle this back and forth until it's the right location, and then you can press it in. Now we put the other side on. This is the one at the angle. The second one is harder because you have to get the right angle. Might have to tap in this last one. There's a lot of tension on it. Okay, tightening up this last corner brace will be a little bit of a trek. We had to lay the whole thing down on the ground. It's more stable that way anyway. So you can put some more tension. We, in the end, had to prop up this bottom brace so we could hold this while tensioning this one, and it did take a couple pounds with a hammer too in order for it to tighten enough. Now everything is connected loosely. We've turned it upright on level ground so that it can now be tightened at the correct angles. With the frame completed, we're now ready to start putting together the swing. The back and the seat of the swing come already assembled. So the first thing we need to do is attach the back to the seat with the 130 millimeter bolts. We laid the back of the seat down on the floor so that we could put the bolt through the hole up into the back edge of the seat itself. Next is assembling the armrests for the bench. So the longest bolt in the package is 280, I believe. That goes in, and also the short piece with the curved edges. There, your bolt is going to go all the way through that piece and into the seat. So we'll slide this armrest bolt right into the bottom of the seat. And now we'll tip it upright so we can put the bolts in the back of the armrest. At this point, these should be the last two 130 millimeter bolts you have left. The last two wooden pieces are the swing beam that's going to hang down and attach to the swing arms. So one bolt here and one bolt down here, and this one's awfully tight, so that's going to take a hammer. So you can see that is really tight. There's a big gap in the hole there. Now we've decided we're going to turn this bolt around so the smooth side is by your arm and this part will be out. So there is a left and a right to these side posts, and you can only put them on one way. You'll know which side is which. And then what will happen is you'll link it into the top of the frame. There is a hole and you'll be tightening the nut from the top. It's time to put the eye hook in the top beam. We leave one washer at the bottom and one washer at the top. And now both nuts go on top of this eye hook. The first nut is locked on, and so now it's the second and last. And two S hooks on each side. And we'll hook on the swing. Just make sure it's on level ground when you tighten everything up. Now when tightening up here, these are, just a little bit of a design flaw in my opinion, because if you notice, this wood does not touch this wood in most of this surface. And usually when you're assembling something, you've got nice surfaces to snug together. This is designed this way, but it just leaves it a little to be desired. We added this nut for extra security because this first nut actually is not connected on the threads at all. It's in a bare, smooth spot on this bolt. This one is secured up against it, but this is really more like a shim. It's not actually locking. These two washers nuts are not locking together. So we added this third one because that's pretty standard, pretty typical, to make sure that this doesn't come loose. And this seems excessively long. There's no need to have a bolt sticking up that far out of the frame. So it's kind of like you want a cap on it, or you just want it to be a shorter bolt. And just another note on the design of this swing, the bolt is countersunk on the armrest itself, which leads you to think there's going to be a lot of water opportunity for water to collect in there and cause problems. So it's like you want to cap that or stick a wood plug in there or something. And with tightening every bolt, now this feels very secure. And we just sat down on it and it broke on this knot right here. So we're going to have to see what the company might be able to help with on that.